Hello, my name is Rafael Seif, and in this learning video about grammar, we're going to see the topic of intensifiers. First, we will see the concept of intensifiers, what they are in the English language. Then we will see one of the most common ones, very, and then we'll see a very important difference between neutral meaning and strong meaning adjectives. The objectives of these presentations are first to understand the concept of intensifiers as well as their purpose. We will also learn how to use the most common words to emphasize adjectives apart from very. And also another objective would be to understand the different uses of very and other intensifiers. What are intensifiers? They are adverbs or adverbial phrases that emphasize or strengthen the meaning of adjectives or expressions and show a more emphatic meaning. An intensifier is normally located before the adjective. It strengthens. The two most important or common ones are very, is the most widely used one, and really, which is also very common. Other adverbs that are also used are amazingly, exceptionally, extremely, incredibly, particularly, unusually, and many more. Here we have some examples. The material was really very or incredibly malleable, or his comments are really very extremely relevant at this point. In this case, we can use all types of intensifiers because the meaning of the adjective is not very strong, as we will see in a minute. Some other intensifiers are very common also in the English language, including words such as so, such, rather, to, at all, much, or far. So and such work with adjectives, and so is normally placed before adjectives. And if we place a noun in the middle of before the adjective, we have to use such and the article a. For example, we can say it's so hot today because we have an adjective, hot, or we can say it's such a hot day today. In this case, we have a noun before the adjective, so we have to use this expression. We also have rather in expressions such as the food is rather cold. Rather relates to some other intensifiers such as pretty, fairly, etc. We also have to before adjectives, which is very common in English. Here, the example, I am too busy these days is very clear here. We have to say that the meaning is, the adjective is to a very high degree. And we also have a tool, normally related to negative expressions, and it means in the smallest degree possible. Okay? In this case, we have the example, I didn't understand anything at all. Here, a tool is normally related to something very absolute. Or we have the intensifiers much or far or by far. In this case, we use these intensifiers in relation with comparative and superlative adjectives where very is not possible. For example, aluminium is much lighter than steel. In this case, we cannot use very. Or with superlatives, we can use by far. For example, he is by far the slowest. Let's have a look at very with one of the most common intensifiers in English. It's used to emphasize adjectives, but it is used with adjectives that have not a very strong meaning. For example, the flight from Valencia was very expensive. Very, on the other hand, is not possible with strong adjectives. In other words, adjectives with a very strong sense or meaning. Here we have some examples. There are many more. Awful, appalling, excellent, disgusted, fantastic, wonderful, useless, terrible, absurd, brilliant, delighted, enormous, essential, furious, huge, perfect, and many more. In these cases, with strong adjectives, other intensifiers are used, but not very. We can use really, utterly, totally, particularly, absolutely, completely, and many more. So, as we can see here, really can be used with both groups of adjectives, strong and neutral. We use very to emphasize an adjective or an adverb too. Here we have some examples. This is a very popular Indian dance, or the problem had to be solved very quickly. In this case, we can also use very with adverbs, apart from adjectives. Very can also be used with adjectives ending in ed, especially in the cases when we are talking about a state of mind or an emotional condition of feeling. For example, I was very bored or very tired. But very cannot be used with ed adjectives when they are part of a passive construction. With these types of past participles, we cannot use very. For example, we cannot say he was very liked. This would be incorrect. So we would use he was well liked. Other words must be used here instead of very. It's very important to differentiate between neutral meaning and strong meaning adjectives when it comes to using correctly the intensifiers in English. With neutral adjectives, we have many more possibilities, no restrictions. We have some restrictions in some cases with collocations, but with neutral adjectives, for example, we can use very, really, or some more. It is a very interesting, or it is a really interesting alternative. Or we can say, it found a very or really clear explanation. Clear and interesting have a neutral meaning. They are not strong. Whereas other strong adjectives, such as the ones in the example here, very is not possible here. We have to use other alternatives as we saw before. The design is completely or really wonderful, or this idea is totally or really absurd. In this case, very cannot be used. So we have seen the use and the meaning of intensifiers in English. They are adverbs used to emphasize or strengthen the meaning of an adjective, a very important function in technical English or in general English as well. Very is a very common intensifier, as we saw, but it has some restrictions because it cannot be used with strong adjectives with a very strong meaning. And last, we use intensifiers correctly only if we can understand the difference between adjectives that have a neutral or a strong meaning, because it will actually influence our choice of intensifier. I hope you found this learning video useful. Thank you very much.